Let's begin. We are on Daf Gimal Amud Bet. If you're following the art scroll, we are on 3B1. Okay? Let's begin. So in order to start off now, we just need to do a quick review. A quick review of where exactly we left off. So, once again, the case of the Mishnah was as follows. The case of the Mishnah said that if someone says, we bear witness that this person borrowed 1,000 zuz, and he has to pay between now and 30 days. He has 30 days left to pay. He didn't pay. The guy says, you know something, you're 100% right. I did borrow 1,000 zuz, but actually, I don't have 30 days to pay. It was a 10-year loan. So what are they forcing him to do? They're forcing him to give up 9 years, 335 days of his loan, because they're making him give it in 30 days. Okay? So the Gemara says, what is that damage? How do we assess the damage that the Edim Zomimim did? What damage they do? And then the Mishnah answered, the damage is assessed by figuring out how much would a person pay in order to be able to have that money for that amount of time. You cost him having that money for the rest of that period of time. That's effectively what the Gemara said. And then we had in the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, and it was the question of the Gemara, why are we only charging him the value of having that money for this amount of time? Why don't we charge him the full amount of the 1,000 zuz? Well, the Gemara says, why? Why would I imagine that? The Gemara says, because if a person lends you money for 10 years, then that 10-year loan goes through a Shemitah. And if it goes through a Shemitah, even if you lent it to him for 10 years, and you lent it to him and it doesn't become due at the time of Shemitah, still, the Shemitah would make it invalid. So the Shemitah would undo the entire loan. If that's the case, how much did you really cost me? You cost me the whole amount. Because if you would have let it go to 10 years, Shemitah would have undone the whole loan. So therefore you should be forced to pay 1,000 zuz, not just the amount that it costs to have that money for that amount of time. On that the Gemara said, you're right. What are we talking about? Hacha b'may askinan. What are we referring to in this case? Where the guy gave the money and he took a collateral. Or he gave the money and he handed over the documents to Bet Din. Either according to Tosafot, where he gave the documents themselves to Bet Din, or according to Rashi, where he signed a pruzbul, which effectively gives over your documents to Bet Din through the signing of this one document. That's how we understand the Gemara thus far. Now the Gemara is going to take the statement of Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel and flip it. So we need to come used to this. I mentioned to Stanley last week that Makkot is like, you have gateway drugs, right? You only started taking this little drug, not thinking it was going to get you very far. Next thing you know, you're in Hotel California, you can let me leave, right? So too, Makkot is like a gateway masechet, because it really teaches you the process of logic of Gemara. So once you learn Masechet Makkot, you're set up to be able to much easier learn any other Masechet, because it does a lot of these legal wranglings, and your brain becomes attuned to that. Ika da'amri is a term we're going to need to learn in the Gemara. Ika da'amri means there are some that say. Okay, you guys see where we are? Bottom of the first column in the English. And if you're following in the Gemara itself, we're right at about a little bit before the midway point. Ika da'amri. Ika da'amri just literally means, and there are those that say. Usually an Ika da'amri is another version of what we've said up until that point. So we have a statement of Yehuda Amarav in the name of Shmuel, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, and that was, the first statement was, that when you make a loan for 10 years and it goes through Shemitah, Shemitah undoes the loan. Ika da'amri, ready for this, 180 degrees. There are those that say over this exact line from Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, exactly the opposite. So let's learn that process. So we're just going to draw this line that we just drew one way. we're now going to literally draw it exactly the opposite direction. All of the logic is going to be the same. It's just how it plays out. Ikadamri, there are those that say, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel, Yehuda says the name of Shmuel, Hamavet Chavero le'eseh shanim, someone lends someone for 10 years, and Shvi'it misham tato. The Shvi'it, the 7th year of Shemitah, does not make it Shemitah. Why? Remember in the first place, the Gemara had a reason why it should not count. What was the reason? The reason is because you have to be pressuring me for the loan. The loan is not due. So what do we say there? Even though it's not pressuring now, it's going to be pressuring when you come to it. And that will mean that the year of Shemitah has within it a pressure to pay back the loan. Maybe now, maybe in the future. The Gemara over here is going to do exactly the opposite. And what's the Gemara going to say? Why? Even though it's going to come to, you shall not pressure. At this point, the loan is not due. And if the loan is not due, then there's no pressure. So if there's no pressure, then there's no undoing of the loan of Shemitah. Okay? The Gemara says, Amar Rav Kana. Now remember, in the last iteration, what did we do with Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel? We asked a question from the Mishnah. Because the Mishnah says, if you borrow 1,000 zuz, right? How much you have to pay back? If you edim zomemim, someone on the 1,000 zuz from now until 30 days, how much you have to pay back? How much you would have wanted to keep the loan? The Gemara's question was, you should have to pay the whole thing. Gemara here now has Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel that fits with the Mishnah. So in this version, it's not a question from Rav Kana, it's a proof from Rav Kana, okay? Because the Mishnah is aligned with the statement, not against it. Rav Kana says, oh, we also have a proof to this. If you zomemim the guy, and you said he owes the money on a 10-year loan, how much do you do? How much you figure out? We figure out, we shots up how much it would take for this person, how much you would want to hold on to the loan. Ben and ben liten mikan v'ad shosha yamim yom, ben liten mikan v'ad eseh shanim. How much you would pay to have the money? V'i amret, and if you say shvi'it misham tato, and if you hold that shvi'it undoes it, he should have to pay him the whole thing. So what do we see from the Mishnah? A proof to Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel that says that shvi'it does not make it shvi'it, that it doesn't undo the loan. Are you following? From the fact that the Mishnah says that you don't have to pay him the whole thing, what do you see? That shvi'it does not undo it.
There's some debt too.
Guys, I want to point out, there's 3 pieces of information, and they work with each other in exactly the way you'd imagine them to work. Let's start. We have a statement in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, if you make someone pay a 10-year loan in 30 days, how much you have to pay? The amount that he would want to pay in order to have it. How much? Let's put a number to that. Let's say a guy would pay 50 zuz to have the 1,000 zuz for 10 years. Let's say that would be the amount. So how much you have to pay 50 zuz? Why? Because you didn't cost him 1,000 zuz. Why? Because of the second piece of information. Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, the first time, said that if you have a loan for 10 years, goes with the Shemitah, okay? Shemitah undoes the loan. Then there's the last piece of information. The last piece of information is Rava, where Rava says that if you give the guy the money with a collateral or with prusbul, or giving over the shtarot to Bedin, the loan to Bedin, then it does, Shvi'it does not undo it. So all we're going to do is figure out how we want to structure these 3 bits of information. Either there's a question from the Mishnah and Rava's an answer, or there's a proof from the Mishnah, and then Rava's coming along to undo the proof. Are you clear? But either way, we're structuring the bits, the facts that we have to interplay with each other one way or the other way. So let's go the first tower. The first tower is, Rav Yehuda Shmuel says, Shvi'it does undo a loan, a 10-year loan. Then the Mishnah comes along and says, you don't have to pay 1,000 zuz. No, before we get to collateral. Okay. Shvi'it undoes the loan. Now we have a Mishnah that says the opposite, because you would have to pay everything. It says the Gemara Rava, the third piece of information, the Mishnah is talking about in a case where there was collateral or there was giving Oshtarot to Betin. Now let's start the other way. Other people heard Rabbi Yehuda Mashmul the other way, that he said that Shvi'it does undo it. Okay, now we have a Mishnah that says you have to pay 50 zuz, not 1,000 zuz. So the Mishnah now is a proof to the opinion, not a question on the opinion. It's a proof to the opinion because it matches. He says, you said, right, that Shvi'it does not undo it. So look, see, the Mishnah says exactly like you. Why? Because it says you only have to pay 50. Now comes Rava, the last bit of information that we have, that we know that there is a way where you could not pay, even if you hold that it does do Shvi'it, Misham Tato, there's a way that it won't do it. And what is that way? If you give collateral, or if you, so Rava says, you don't have a proof from the Mishnah, because maybe the Mishnah is. So in this version, Rava is saying why maybe it's not a proof. In the last version, where we had a question, Rava is saying maybe it's not a question. But it just depends on how you start the tower. Yes.
So now they have to find a source to see if the case is about a case with collateral or approval?
No, because if you want to bring me a proof from somewhere, and I could say maybe the case is going in this case, then you have no proof. The burden on instituting that is on you. Yeah, exactly, because you're trying to prove it, okay? So says the Gemara, finishes the Gemara, Amarava, Hacha b'mayaskinan, you don't have a proof, because maybe what we're talking about over here is b'maveh mashkon u'moseh shtarotav lebeit din. Titanan, because we learned in the Mishnah, hamaveh mashkon, if you borrow with a collateral, moseh shtarotav lebeit din, you give over the loan to beit din, and misham tatin, the shvi'it, shmita does not make it that your loan is lost. Ve'amar Yehuda Mashmuel, another line from Rabbi Yehuda named Shmuel. Yehuda Mashmuel, someone says to his friend, fascinating. What did we say last time? Last time we said, Dan brought this question up. He says, now no one is gonna lend any money before Shemitah, because they're gonna lose all their money. So what was my answer to Dan last week?
Hillel came
along and fixed it with a prusbul, right? Okay. Now we have a guy who's taking the law in his own hands. He goes to borrow money. He says, Akiva, please, could you lend me money? I desperately need some money to borrow. Akiva says, you think I'm a fool? We're in year 6 now, right? By next year, the loan's going to disappear.
I'll give you a waiver.
A different kind of Hebrew free loan society.
Exactly, right? What does he say? He says, don't worry. I'm giving you a get out of jail free card. Someone says to his friend, I'm going to borrow this money from you, and we'll make a condition between you and me. The condition is that Shemitah is not going to make the money not paybackable. I'm going to pay it back. Now, by the way, if you remember, last week someone asked me, are you exempt from paying, or are you not allowed to pay? Remember? That's this. The guy says, I know Shevi'it is, undoing it, but I'm borrowing the money on the condition that it does not become Shmitad, okay? It does not become undone. So the halacha is, in that case, I'm not sure to Shevi'it mishametet. Still, Shevi'it mishametet. So this guy says, oh, that's the condition? No problem. Here's the loan. Comes at the end of the 7th year, you don't have to pay back. Still canceled. Hold on for 1 second. The Gemara says, what does that mean? What is Shmuel saying? He made a condition. Why doesn't it go? Lema kasav Shmuel. Maybe the reason for Shmuel is matna al ma shekatuv batorahi. V'chol matna al ma shekatuv batorah tena'o batel. You're making a condition that stands in contradistinction to a Torah condition. You can't do such a thing. You can't make a condition that countermands a pre-existing Torah condition. So the Torah says that the 7th year undoes the loan. What do you say? I'm borrowing the money, and the 7th year is not going to undo the loan. But the 7th year does undo the loan. Your condition to him, you had no ability to institute, no authority to institute that condition.
How the Prusbul does it? The Prusbul does the same thing.
Oh, so the Prusbul...
different hat.
So the Prusbul says, I'm not collecting the loan. The whole of the Shemitah works...
Yeah, but the Bedin will get the loan back.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem. Why? Because that fits with what the Torah says. The Torah says, if you're the one pressuring him, Shevi'it undoes it. Because it connects Lo Yigos and Shemitah, okay? Don't pressure him, Shemitah is going to undo it, okay? If you're not the one pressuring him, for either of the two reasons, because Bedin is the one pressuring him, or because I don't have to pressure him because I already have a mashkon, then there's no Shemitah. That undoes it. Mashkon is a collateral, okay? If I have collateral, I'm not pressuring you. I have your house. I don't
What if
care.
you have an intermediary that's not Betin?
Technically, it would be the same thing, but I don't think that there's a reality of having someone else.
What if somebody's a lender and they hire somebody, right?
So that would not work because that's shliach adam kimoto. My shaliach, my emissary is exactly like me. It's like I'm pressuring you.
Right. If you work,
But Beit Din is not your shaliach. Beit Din is what you're saying is, I'm giving it to the legal authorities. It's not me pressuring. It's the law itself, so to speak. Now, hold off just 1 second. So the Gemara says, if I make this condition, it doesn't work. Why? The Gemara says, let's say, I want to suggest that what is the logic for Shmuel not accepting this person giving this condition? It's because he's conditioning it against the Torah, and you can't do that. Says the Gemara, V'ha'itmar, is that true? Is that true? V'ha'itmar, we learned. If someone says this, so now we're going to bring in a whole other concept. Okay? Ona'ah means that if someone tells you, I'm selling you these glasses one of a kind, fantastic. You know how much they cost? $10,000. I sell it to you and I give it to you above the amount that is considered allowable in the eyes of the Torah with regards to ona'ah. Ona'ah, excellent, is like price gouging. So there's a certain amount that the Chachamim said, the fluctuation of goods, of supply and demand, this is in the realm of normal. Above that point, that's already, it's not fair market value, because ona'ah goes beyond that. Okay? Ad shtut, says the Gemara. Again, we can't get involved. Every time the Gemara throws you a comment, the ona'ah is an entire perek in Baba Metzia. So we can't get into the nitty gritty of each case because it will take us off piste for a week. Okay. However, there's a certain amount, whatever that amount is. The Gemara says ad shtut until a sixth. Above that, even if you make the deal and the guy signs the deal, the halacha is the deal goes back. Says the Gemara, why? Because I didn't realize you were price gouging. Says the Gemara, what if someone says, I'm buying this building from you. I'm buying this thing from you. And you know what? There's no problem of price gouging. Even if you upsell me, I don't care. Rav Amar, Rav says, so the guy sells it, he says, no, not the other way. I'm going to sell it to you, but you can't come back and tell me I'm price gouging. In other words, he's tipping him off that he's price gouging.
Same thing.
Okay?
Same principle.
Rav says, Makkot. Rav says, Yesh lo alav ona'ah. Still, he's allowed to claim after the sale is over, sale is undone because of price gouging. He's allowed to do that. That's what Rav says. Shmuel Omer, en lo alav ona'ah. No. In that case, he's not allowed to come and claim price gouging. The Gemara says, what do you mean? Doesn't make sense. What did you just tell me? You just told me that the opinion of Shmuel is, why did Shmuel say that when you say, I'm going to borrow the money, and Shemitah is not going to undo the loan? The halacha is Shemitah undoes the loan. So the Gemara said, Lema kasav Shmuel. Just by the way, FYI, every time you see the words, Lema kasavar, which means, let's say he holds, what are you really being told?
That he doesn't hold.
In a minute, we're going to tell you that that's not the case. And we're going to tell you why that's not the case.
Because over here,
because we find something else. It can't be that that's Shmuel's logic if I find Shmuel saying exactly this somewhere else. So the Gemara says, Lema kasav Shmuel, the reason for Shmuel, when the guy said Shemitah is not going to undo the loan, it doesn't work. Lema kasav Shmuel, let's say the reason is because you can't condition something against a condition of the Torah, and if you do, it's batel. But Shmuel said in this other case that if the guy says, I'm selling you something and there's no price gouging claim against me, he could still say there's price gouging against him. So you see that Shmuel holds that you could make a condition against the Torah. So that can't be Shmuel's logic, right? Says the Gemara, Ha'itmar Allah, But we learned on this exact machloket of Rav and Shmuel, Rav Anan taught us, Lididi mefarsha leminei de Shmuel. Shmuel explained this to me personally. This that he said, that there's still ona'ah in that case, is dependent. Al menat she'en lecha alai ona'ah, eno alav ona'ah. If you said, you don't have a case against me in price gouging, in such a case, Shmuel said, en lo ona'ah. But if he says, en ona'ah, there is no ona'ah, al menat she'en bo ona'ah, harei yesh bo ona'ah. Let me make it exactly clear. The language is everything. Shmuel holds. If I say to you, you know something? I want to sell you this building, and I'm selling it to you on one condition. The sale is on the condition that you forfeit your right to the claim of price gouging. So I'm selling it to you, en lecha alai onah. You cannot claim price gouging against me. In that case, there's no onah. How about if he says, I'm selling this to you on condition that there is no onah. There is no price gouging. The Gemara says, in that case, there is price gouging. So it could be that Shmuel says that you can't institute a condition against the Torah. Right? You can't.
He doesn't undo his last statement.
He doesn't. It's not undo. Lema kasavar could stand. You know why? Why? Shmuel holds as follows. I'm allowed to do whatever I want with my money. I'm allowed to do whatever I want, right? Let's say, as an example, we have a court case. Let's say there's a court case between me and you, and I'm not obligated to pay you. Am I allowed to decide I want to pay you? I can do whatever I want. I can give you the money as a gift. So since I'm allowed to do whatever I want with my money, I could forego the right to claim something because I'm allowed to do so. I'm foregoing my money. But I'm not saying that the Torah's law doesn't apply.
Change the Torah law.
I'm not changing the Torah law. I'm just saying that I agree, before I go into this, that I'm not going to make that claim. I have the claim, but I agree I'm not going to make it. Which amounts to the fact that I'm saying, I'm going to give you the gift. I don't have to pay you, but I'm going to pay you anyway. However, if I say en bo ona'ah, I can't say that there isn't price gouging. To say so is to go against the Torah. Let's plug that back in over here. So Shmuel that says over here that if a person says, I'm giving you a loan, I'm taking a loan from you, on condition that Shvi'it does not make it Shemitah, that it's not going to become Shemitah. If he says that I can't claim Shemitah, that would work. But what does Shmuel say over here? That it's not going to become Shemitah. I can't cancel that law. So it could very well be that Shmuel actually holds that you can't condition something against the Torah. And even though you found me a place that Shmuel says that I'm allowed to say there's no ona'ah, I wasn't conditioning against the Torah. I was just saying I'm going to pay no matter whether I'm obligated or not. Clear? Nathan's question. Take it away. Oh, I answered it? Okay. I wanted you to hold off because I knew that we needed all the steps in order to lock it down. Okay. Let's continue. Says the Gemara. Sorry?
I'm claiming that
I would imagine that would be a very wise thing to do, knowing full well that you're ripping him off and that he is accepting being ripped off. Okay. Hachanami, so too over here, like we just said, in order, if a person makes that condition, and shvit misham tato, almenat, if he says, in order that I won't do that, Shvi'it won't do that for me. He's allowed to do that. In order that Shvi'it won't fall on me, not that I won't claim it, but that Shvi'it won't rely on, won't affect this for me, that you can't do. Okay? Now guys, I want to just illustrate. It's important, as we're learning the Gemara, also to recognize, how did the Gemara just do that? Okay, this is important for all future time when we're learning Gemara. Understanding the structure of how the Gemara does that is key, because that will mean that in every future lema kasavar, you'll understand what they're about to do. Let's say he holds this, what's coming next? A challenge to that let's say. Then what comes after the challenge?
challenge.
Either the Gemara is going to accept it and say, therefore he doesn't hold that, we need another reason. Or the Gemara will challenge the challenge. So when you kind of know what's coming, what the building blocks are of a question, an answer, a proof, a challenge, you already start to understand, right, what the Gemara is about to do. And if we try to prove from there, so how's the Gemara's flow going to work? We're going to give an answer, and what will we say? Hachanami. We're going to bring it back to here and apply that answer to the place where we started our question. So that completes the circle.
We started that with the Baha Itmar.
This circle started with a new point that if a person makes a condition that Shvi'it won't land, then Shmuel said, still it lands. That was the starting point. Okay? Then we try to explain it, then we try to challenge it, then we challenge the challenge. We found a pathway between where he says it like this and not like this. So too over here, Shmuel meant it in the case where he said it like this and not like this. But Shmuel would also agree, if you said it in the other way, it would actually work. Just like he says in the other case, that if you say it that particular way, you could get around price gouging, you could also get around in this particular way, around this. By the way, what's the takeaway clause from this that you might have missed in the sequence?
Words matter.
Yes, number one. But here's another answer
You are allowed to.
for Prusbul. Besides for Prusbul. A guy walks into your office. He says, I want to borrow money in year 6. How do you make sure that your money does not become shmitad?
You have a crucible, or
You have a Prusbul, or, what do we say? Or you take a collateral. Now we have another way.
I'm gonna on my right.
You have to tell him to say, I will lend you the money, but you need to make a condition with me.
Yes,
That you won't claim the right of Shemitah.
Won't use the halacha.
You won't use the halakha. So if he gets the borrower to make that condition in that language, what did Shmuel just say? That still stands. So he doesn't really even need to go through Prusbul. He doesn't even need to go through the thing, but he needs to get the borrower to say that. Okay? If he doesn't get the borrower to say that, then so my question is, why did Hillel need to come up with Prusbul? Why did they just teach people this lesson? The answer is because people are not exact. And now, once I know that if you didn't say exactly right, look at the difference. Al minat shelo tishamteni bashvit, verse, in order that you do not do shmita for me in the 7th year, or al minat shelo tishamteni shvit. The difference is one letter. The bet of bashvit. You know what's going to happen? Every lender is going to be like, listen, I'm not sacrificing, maybe losing my money, because you did say the bet, you didn't say the bet, chalas, I'm out. Prusbul, at least there's a document. Guys, someone needs to mute. Someone needs to mute. Okay? All right. Let's continue. The Gemara, unless that was did someone go live for a question? No? Okay. The Gemara continues. Tana, we learned, Hamalvet chavero stam, if someone just lends money, stam. What does stam mean? You didn't specify a date. You said, could I borrow $100?
Yeah, here.
Guy says yes. When do you owe that money?
There's no defined terms.
Eno rashai letova'o pachot mishloshim yom. You're not allowed to demand it back before 30 days.
That's the minimum date if there's no.
Yes. Minimum date of a debt is how long? 30 days. Okay? By the way, right, interesting concept, right? In Masech, I picked the one time Harry Towell is not here to do this. In Masechet Sotah, what did he learn? He learned that if a person says, I'm a Nazir, without saying for how long is he a Nazir for?
30 days.
30 days. Why is he a Nazir for 30 days? The Gemara says, because it says Yihiyeh.
Habits form of
He will be. Yihiyeh is 2 yuds and 2 hays. How much is that? 30. But the Gemara over here doesn't bring a Yihiyeh. It just says that when you don't make a stipulation, what's your standard loan is for how long? Is a 30-day loan. One could have said potentially the same thing over here. Over there, excuse me. That you made a condition with Hashem, 30 days, right? Because that's how long a regular loan is. we don't know exactly why that is. Let's see. Sava Rabba Bar Chana. Rabba Bar Chana thought Kamei Rav Lememar to say, what do we see in this word? What did I tell you? Sava, who said that? Manuel, right? What does that tell you? If he says, he thought to say that the reason...
It's open to interpretation.
What do we say every time you say, Lema Kasavar, let's say he holds... What are we going to do in a second? Knock it out. Or attempt to knock it out. Sava Rabba Bar Bar Chana Kamed Rav Lememar. Rabba Bar Chana thought to say in the name of Rav, Hani mili b'milveh b'shtar. That's only when someone borrows with a contract. A person's not going to go through the wedge on us, the dichit of writing a shtar, the pain in the neck of writing a contract, right? Less than for 30 days. He thought to say that this idea that a unstipulated loan lasts 30 days is by a shtar, where there's a contract. Because you know what? No one's going to hassle with writing a shtar less than 30 days. It must be that they agreed to at least a 30-day time period. But if it was a loan that happened only orally, then the person could ask for the money back in a week. Amale Rav said to him, Hachi Amar Habibi, so too did my uncle say, okay? Hachi Amar Habibi, so said my uncle, Echad Amaveh b'shtar, whether one borrows with a contract, Vechad Amaveh al peh, and whether one borrows the money by mouth, so in other words, there is no written contract between them, still the halacha is that stam milveh, stam, a case of a person borrowing money, is 30 days. So the stipulation is without anything indicating it. Now, by the way, it's funny, because what does this tell you about our Mishnah?
It's dealing with a case not involving 30 days?
The guy says he borrowed the money for 10 years, right? They say, how long was the loan for?
30 days.
30 days.
There's no document?
One would imagine that in the case over here, where they're saying the length of the loan can't be stipulating, it's 10 years, and they're saying it's 30 days, and we even have a court case.
So it must be undocumented.
Must be undocumented.
Otherwise, you would know for sure what the term is.
And since it's undocumented, maybe that's why,
Who would give a 10-year loan undocumented?
maybe that's why they say 30 days.
No,
Right?
undocumented would be for less than 30 days.
Sorry?
Wouldn't undocumented be for less than 30 days? People only go through the trouble.
Not according to Rav. Right? That's what he thought to say. Rav then told him in the name of his uncle, Habibi, which is something I feel like I need to start calling my uncles. Right?
You're gonna sing their name.
Yeah, Chabi, right? It was a Habibi means my beloved. That's what Habibi means. Someone who's Chavi, who's dear to you. Okay, so it's actually his uncle was Rav Chia, but he calls him Habibi. Okay, so Rav said, and once that stipulation is there, so any stam loan is 30 days. That's why there's a court case here in the Mishnah, because it's undocumented. The guy is saying it was for 10 years, and they're saying no, it's 30 days. Okay.
Yeah, maybe they lost the shtar.
Can I have it written down?
Sorry.
He said he said maybe they lost the shtar.
Okay, maybe they lost the shtar. But the point is that there isn't the shtar to point to now. Yes.
Would that mean that they're actually conspiring, or maybe they just have a different opinion?
Well, they couldn't really, that's not a matter of opinion. Because it was a matter of fact, either the loan was for 10 years or it was 30 days. They're not saying, well, I know that you thought that, but really it was for less. Because that's not an opinion that would hold water in Beit Din. Their testimony can't be a matter of opinion. Their testimony has to be that we saw that this took place, that you agreed to, okay? Definitively. So, says the Gemara, Tanya Nami Hachi, we learned like this in the Braita. Hamalvet chavero stam, if someone lends his friend without specifying, he can't ask him for the money back less than 30 days. Whether it was done by bepeh, whether it was done by a shtar. Now, to be clear, every time we've asked this question, if the Braita says it, why was Rav Chia saying it? Rav quoted Habibi, his uncle. But every time we always ask, why do you have to say it in the name of an Amor? It's already a Mishnah. What's the answer to that question? We've seen already many times. Rav is in between. What would that render his uncle, who's older than him? Above him, a Tana. So therefore, we're not going to ask why he's quoting Rav Chia instead of a Braita, because Rav Chia is a Braita. Okay? Let's continue. Gemara continues. Amar Shmuel Rav Matna. Shmuel said to Rav Matna, Lo tetiv akarech, ad mifarshit la lahashmata. Listen, don't sit on your abo until you tell me. Explain to me, what is the logic? What is this teaching, this explanation? How did the Chachamim, where did they know this idea? Where did it come from? What's the logic? Where is the background? What's the proof? Who said, if I lent you the money, without specifying how long I was lending it to you for, I should be able to come to you in one day and say, I want my money back. It's my money, you're just holding it. What makes it that there's a minimum of 30 days? And by the way, and who sets it at 30 days? Amalei answered, Dichtiv, because it says, Karva Shenat Hasheva, Shenat Hashemita. Because when it talks about Shmitat Ktsafim, when it talks about the fact that in the 7th year the money gets, the loan gets undone, it says the year of Shemitah is coming. The 7th year, the Shnat HaShemitah. Mimashma shene'emar, from the fact that it says, Kareva Shnat HaSheva, coming is the 7th year. Eni yodea she'i Shnat HaShemitah. I do not know that it's not, don't I already know that it's the year of, the 7th year is the Shana of Shemitah? I know that year 7 is Shemitah. Why does it say both elements? Why do you have to say it's the year of Shemitah? We already established in the Torah, in that parasha, that the 7th year is Shemitah. Why does it say the 7th year is coming, the year of Shemitah? What is it coming to tell you? Listen to this, is genius. Lomar lecha, to tell you, yesh Shemitah acheret shehi kazu. There's another Shemitah which is like this, but not exactly this. Ve'ezezu, what is this? Hamalvet chavero stam, that if someone lends his friend money without telling him, eno rashai l'tov'o b'pachot mishloshim yom. He's not allowed to borrow the money, to ask him for the money back, less than 30 days. De'amar mar, why? Because our chachamim have taught us, shiloshim yom b'shana chashuv shana. 30 years in a day is considered, in a year, is considered to be, is referenced as a year. Now, I want to just explain what the Gemara is saying up until this point.
Can you repeat that?
I'm going to explain the whole bit. The Gemara says, coming is the 7th year, the year of Shemitah. That means, I already know that there's a year of Shemitah, that the 7th year is the year of Shemitah. Why did it tell me in extra words that there's a year of Shemitah? The Gemara says, that extra, it is a year of Shemitah, is coming to tell you that besides for the year of Shemitah that you already know about, there's another year of Shemitah. Just like this. So it's just like if the Torah would say an extra bit, and we would learn something out of that extra bit. So we have an extra Shemitah year over here. Something to institute, to teach me another halakha. Says the Gemara that there's another Shemitah year, just like the Shemitah year. What is that? That is a standard loan. That when you borrow the money, you're not allowed to collect it. Just like Shemitah doesn't allow you to collect a loan, there's a Shemitah period, which is like a Shemitah year. And what is that Shemitah period? The 30-day period. Sorry?
It's like
a mini Shemitah, exactly. So there's a mini Shemitah that affects the same law, and what is that? 30 days. Why? Ask the Gemara, what do you mean? How is that a Shemitah year? You know what? It would like if you were to tell me there's an extra Shemitah year, you know what it's coming to tell you? That every however long, there's a year in the middle that's another Shemitah year. That would be a Shemitah year. How does the Shemitah year and the 30-day grace period of every loan, how are those two things related? Now listen to this, because this is very special. The Gemara says a fascinating halacha. Let me see if I can find it. 1 second.
Why is it not Jubilee?
Give me 1 second, because there's a specific pasuk for. Where did I see this? Hold on.
Number 20.
No.
Two Jubilee, two sheep years. Yeah.
Same as Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, but no, I wanted to. I thought I saw it over here on the page. I must have looked it up in the other masechet.
No, you have to start counting. Otherwise,
Okay. I thought I saw. I must have looked it up in Masechet Rosh Hashanah. I wanted to show you the Rashi inside, and I thought he brought it here. Okay. The basic idea is as follows. So where do we get this 30-day period from? The 30-day period, being a year, is that when it comes to a tree being planted, we find that the concept of year in the Torah is fulfilled so long as it has 30 days. So as an example, if you're counting 3 years in a tree, and the tree has 30 days, that's already enough to count as if it had 1 year. I wanted to show you the Rashi from Rosh Hashanah inside, but I don't have it here. Okay? So that idea illustrates that when the Torah tells you the word Shana, there is an example where a Shana takes 30 days. So therefore, what is this Shnat HaSheva, Shnat HaShemitah? I could find you a Shemitah year. That year is 30 days. How could a year be 30 days? I found you another place where a year is 30 days in Masechet Rosh Hashanah with regards to the age of a tree. What is this halakha of 3 years? For the first 3 years that a tree is planted, you're not allowed to eat from that tree. It's called orla, okay? By the way, some people say that that's the source for not cutting a child's hair until the age of 3 years old.
Which is what?
Which is that it's like orla. Because the Torah says, Ki ha'adam etz hasadeh, that a person is compared to a tree.
And I can cut it after 3 months.
So could I cut it?
Ah, nice one. Sorry?
Could I cut it 2 years and 31 days?
Jonah, you're asking a good question. But someone here asked a better question. Jonah asked, could you cut it at 2 years and 31 days? But we have a question here. In the room, we see you and we raise you, Jonah. Wait 90 days.
Nathan said the same thing.
In 90 days. Okay? I don't know who said it first. There's something on that bench ate their Wheaties. Okay. Excellent. Yeah.
What about calves? Does it, when you're counting 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, is a 2 year and 1 month calf a 3-year-old calf for all of those korbanot?
I don't know, but I do know that the Rashi brings the case from Rosh Hashanah. And he doesn't bring the case over there from that. But maybe it is. There are many examples of this, by the way. And we have to figure out how to apply them. So like, give me a good example. Let's say you have an Eved that's supposed to be an Eved for 6 years.
Could be 6
Is it 6 years and 30 days? No, for sure it's not going to be the case where we stack 30 days. For sure that's not the case. Because the fact that it's breaking after every 30 days, which is why Jonah's asking, Jonah's question is probably more legit halachic wise, right? 2 years and 30 days, is that going to be considered to be a year, okay? I often thought to myself, maybe that's why there's a 30-day period in Avelut, right? And at the 30-day period, there's a minimization of the laws of Avelut. Why? Because the year of Avelut is already in some way fulfilled in the 30 days. How and when we apply this is a very interesting question, but it will apply everywhere. In every time when we have a case of years, is it 30 days? Would we say in 30 days? How about Netaravai, the 4th year? Do we say 30 days? So all these concepts. However, at least over here, the Gemara is telling us for sure that this is the halakha, and this is the source of someone not borrowing, someone not having to pay back until 30 days. Says the Gemara, yeah.
Is that why it's a little off? But is that why we stopped Avinu Malkeinu after the first 30 days, but then we continued after that?
I like that, but I don't think so. You know why? Because there's no stipulation of a year that we're then reducing and saying 30 days is like a year.
Just a special thing enacted.
right? It's just that after a period of 30 days, I mean, remember if we saw in Ta'anit that the people should not lose the power of the tefillah, they shouldn't be asking how come our tefillah was not accepted, etc., etc. But if there was a year law and we did it in 30 days, then that would be a good example. Okay.
So why
Take
put
this
them?
question one step further.
Yeah.
When we're switching in the Amidah for the winter and the summer, and you have to, you don't know if you did say it or if you didn't say it, after 30 days, you can rely that you did, that you were already in the mode of saying it. So that's Stanley's point.
So would we say that after 30 days we've instituted something as the psyche of a person? It seems clear over there that the idea of 30 days is repetition, 90 times.
Becomes habitual.
Why? Because the halakha teaches that if you say it 90 times in one day, the halakha doesn't apply to you. So if you sit down and you say, there's a question where you need to start from in saying it. You then, if you're unsure what you did, don't have to go back on day 2. So you see, it's not a 30-day thing, it's a 90 repetition thing. Yeah, okay. Baruch Adonai Leolam, amen ve'amen.